gonna change when I really hit the field. Undefeated champs, man, you know what's the deal. Tryna find a kid, I'm in the field doing drills. Boy, you just a sucker, you ain't never keep it real. 3 rings in my hand, I'm a warrior to the max. When I hang it up, they gon' have to give me plaques. Step up in the building and I only bring the facts. When I make a highlight, they gon' replay, run it back. Okay, always locked in, I don't got time to lax. Saying he the best, he could take a lap. Back at 1,000 when you check the stats. Boy, is you ready? You ain't gotta ask. I just really hit the field. 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 Boy, I'm about to hit the field.
And welcome to another episode of the Hitting the Field podcast. We have a full house in this very, very tight room. But there is absolutely a need for every single person to be in this room. Jeremy Brener here, the host of the Hitting the Field podcast. Why is this important that we have a lot of people here today? Because we are talking Astros scandal. We are talking AJ Hinch fired. We are talking Astros loss of draft picks. We are also talking everything about the fallout from the Astros punishments and their alleged cheating. Jeremy Brener here with 3 of Hitting the Field's baseball experts. With me to my far right, it is the umpire god of Hitting the Field, Mr. Johnny Jackson. Johnny Jackson, how are you on this Wednesday afternoon?
I just want to reference that I'm only the umpire god because my Hitting the Field umpire partner, Jared Kappelman, is worse than me.
Yeah.
It's not much
He's
competition.
the umpire. You're the umpire with the most. I'm the host with the most, and you're the umpire with the most.
I am the umpire with the most.
And Jarrett's the host with the least and the umpire with the least.
Oh, wow.
I mean, if he doesn't have the most, he has the least, right?
I mean, you could be somewhere in the middle.
Okay. Yeah, that's true.
Like
You're
a
right.
mediocre host.
He's not mediocre. Don't say that. That's mean.
Slightly above mediocre. That's
Okay.
the
All right.
worst.
All right. That's a little less mean.
It's the worst
Okay.
zone.
All right.
Let's hope he not listens to this.
Let's. Yeah, if Jarrett's listening to this, sorry, Jarrett. Then we have in the middle, Miss Kayla Burge. Miss Kayla Burge. It's been a while. How's it been?
It's been good. This is my second time, spring semester, so we'll see how this goes.
It's gonna go. It's
hope
gonna
so.
go. It's gonna go
Hopefully
real
well.
I'm so happy to have her back. And the rookie of the podcast, the first time, Miss Lindsey Tellez. Am I saying that right? I want you to say it like you're Cuban. Like say it like
Yes.
how your mom says it.
So it would be Lindsey Tellez.
Lindsey Tellez. All right. Tell the crew a little bit about yourself, the listeners out there, a little bit about you, Miss Tellez.
Well, I am Cuban, like Jeremy said. This is my second semester at UCF, and I got involved with Hitting the Field through Charlie, so I'm very grateful for him for that. And I'm excited to be here and talking about my passion, which is baseball.
Shout out Senior Cycle. Day 3.
Senior Cycle.
Day 3 at Hitting the Field.
ESPN.
Yeah. Day 3 at the Wide World, the mothership.
Why is it called the mothership?
Because it's literally like the number one, like it's the worldwide leader of sports. So we're super happy that Charlie and Tatiana Smallwood are out there. Shout out to Tati, also starting out there at ESPN. She's in my era of HTF, but super proud of them both. But yeah, let's talk baseball. There's a lot to talk about and not a whole lot of time. So let's just get right into it. So let's start at the very beginning. Okay, months ago, this was probably October, September.
Yeah.
Right after
Fall.
the World Series.
Okay, right after the World Series. So right after the World Series, Mike Fiers, member of the 2017 world champion Houston Astros.
The best like swirl facial hair I've ever seen in my life.
I don't know about that.
That's debatable.
So Mike Fiers spoke to reporters about the Astros' use of trash cans and video replay room in order to steal signs. Now, this is sort of, look, in a way, they use these things to get an advantage in the game. Whether or not that's fair or unfair is really up to people to decide. However, in a way, this rule is sort of unwritten. There's no rule in this rule book that says you cannot do what the Astros did. However, there's sort of an integrity of the game that was sacrificed here. And I think that anyone, whether you're an Astros fan like Lindsey is or I am, or anyone, can agree that something not right took place. Whether it was right or not right, or as a break of rules or anything like that. So an investigation began. So throughout, since Mike Fire's allegations, there was people like John Boy on Twitter really, did their investigative journalism report on, the Astros' use of banging trash cans and use of, video replay room to gain unfair advantages in the game. And they did that from the 2017 season onwards. Since then, investigation took place. MLB interviewed, I want to say, about 60 Astros representatives, people around the league as well, people that were on that 2017 team. And there were, and the results of that investigation came out this Monday. The results of the investigation were a $5 million fine for the Astros, loss of a first-round pick and a second-round pick in the year 2020 and in 2021. So the Texans don't have a first-round pick, and neither do the Astros. And it resulted also in one-year suspensions for manager A.J. Hinch, general manager Jeff Luhnow, and assistant general manager Brandon Taubman, who was fired by the team in October after an unpleasant interaction with a female fan. An inappropriate female reporter. Thank you. Yeah. So, and then the Astros decided after this to fire AJ Hinch and Jeff Luhnow. So the Astros are currently without a general manager and a manager about 6 weeks before spring training. Exactly where you want your team to be, especially after you lost Game 7 of the World Series. So I'm going to let you, Johnny, start this out. And I want to hear your thoughts just about the whole thing in general. And look, just feel free to air it out. Say exactly how you feel. I want to hear your genuine, raw reaction, and try to keep the language as appropriate as you possibly can.
My language will be censored, but my opinions will not be.
That's exactly what
I will say. 2017, it felt like a storybook year for the Dodgers, and I am a Dodgers fan. I love the Dodgers. I love Clayton Kershaw. I'm a Clayton Kershaw fan. 2017, Game 1 of the World Series, Kershaw threw seven innings, allowing 1 run to a homer off by Bregman, I want to say. 10 strikeouts. That, and the entire playoffs, that really felt like Kershaw ending that narrative. It felt like Clayton Kershaw and the Dodgers were finally going to, have that moment, have that series, and Clayton Kershaw, playoff choker, would be done. That entire narrative will be over. Everyone can stop making fun of my favorite player. I could stop getting made fun of at the lunch table because it sucked. And seeing the entire series go out, seeing Game 5 where Kershaw blew, I think it was 2 leads.
I think it was 1.
I know it was 1 lead.
It was 1, and he was taken
the
out.
Runners were out, and then Kenta Maeda gave up an absolute moonshot. And it was just, I forget who hit it.
Oh, really? Are you sure? I know who hit it.
Who was it?
You know who hit it?
Was it Bregman again?
Who hit it? It was Altuve.
Altuve?
He went, woo! Okay. Sorry, I was really happy.
That was, in that moment when, in the home run off Maeda, that physically hurt my feelings. Or not hurt my feelings. I actually cried a little bit. And then seeing Alex Wood, I forget which game. Was it Game 6 where Alex Wood threw the... I think it was Game 4. It was Game 4. Alex Wood threw... I think he got into the 6th inning with a no-hitter.
Something like that. I do remember this.
Yeah. That felt like, oh, damn. And then Game 5 happens, and then the implosion, and then I think they lost the game in extra innings, Game 5, correct?
Okay. But how do you feel about... So, yeah obviously, losing Game 7 in the World Series, you felt
Sucked.
it, I felt it, it sucks. But, does this change with these allegations coming out? And how you feel about it?
How I feel about it, I would kind of say it's like, I feel kind of miffed about it. Obviously, you can't take away the championship because it doesn't matter if you put an asterisk or remove the title from Houston. The world remembers the Astros winning the World Series.
Amen.
Putting that and the world, and if you look at some of the other allegations against Boston in 2018, the World Series, Boston still won that World Series. They were two great teams. They still had to play the games. And at the end of the day, the Dodgers lost both times. Does that suck that these cheating allegations came out? Yes. Does it suck with the home road splits of several notable Astros players in those playoffs? Yes, it sucks. But the pitcher still had to throw the ball. The batter still had to hit the ball. And Game 7 wasn't even close, and they lost at home. I mean...
So in that report that Rob Manfred put out on Monday, he said that no players will be penalized or suspended because there are so many variables in a baseball game that take place that it is impossible to figure out if the stealing of signs or the methods that the Astros are using would even give them an advantage. Obviously, you can assume that it might have.
Yeah.
And there were, sometimes in the investigation, it kind of said some players for them it worked, but some players also found it more distracting, so they stopped it. So it's hard to tell which players were benefiting from it, which players weren't benefiting from it, and the thing is, we will never know. We will never know how it truly impacted. I'm going to turn the mic over to Lindsey right now as an Astros fan to kind of give her thoughts as to how she feels about it. And then I'm going to go to Kayla, and then I'm going to bring it back to me, and we can keep going. All right.
Okay, so I just want to start off with commenting on what Johnny said with the disappointment with how great Kershaw performed in Game 1 at home, and then he came on the road. He was playing Game 5
Yeah.
in Minute Maid Park, and then it was a complete
He also put some work in Game 7.
disappointment.
4
Right.
innings, no runs.
So I just want to say there are other variables here besides the cheating allegations and what might have happened during those games.
100%.
So in the first game, he was pitching at home in the park that he knows that he's comfortable with. There is evidence that every single team and every single player plays better at home. That's not a surprise. So when he went on the road, the Astros were playing at home then. So there's other things to be said and to think about rather than, Kershaw didn't play so well because they were using the cameras in the replay room.
Yeah, I mean, also, to be fair, Astros aren't very good at playing at home, especially in the World Series. That was proven this year. So, I mean, it's part of that. I mean, but yeah, I think, look, if you look at the replay room, in that series, the Astros won 2 of their games in Los Angeles, at Chavez Ravine, at Dodger Stadium. So you can say the use of the replay room, they didn't have that in 2 of their wins. That's half of their wins in the World Series. So and I'm not saying that to kind of, make the situation sound better, because look, at the end of the day, the Astros cheated. They are cheaters, and yeah, it's frustrating, but it still doesn't. We still will never know exactly, like what I said earlier.
Yeah. We
still will never know how this truly impacted the World Series and if it changed the result. But Kayla, I'm gonna send the mic to you because I want you to chime in here and get your opinion out there. How did you feel when you heard about these allegations and how it might have affected the 2017 World Series and how it affected the game in general?
No, like as much as I would love to be like, yeah, justice for my Dodgers, take away their World Series title, take away Altuve's MVP. That's unrealistic. That's not going to happen again. You don't know that it would have changed the outcome of the World Series had they not cheated, so you can't do anything of the sort. I think the punishment that they got was justified and just about the right punishment that they should have gotten. Fire the people behind the whole scandal, the managers, and then a $5 million fine, which for a team that's making that much money, it's going to hurt a little bit, but it's not anything, that drastic.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a pretty hefty fine compared to what other teams have been fined for in the past.
Mm-hmm.
$5 million. This is the worst penalty any team has gotten for any kind of wrongdoing, at least in the Major League Baseball.
Yeah, they said
spectrum.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
It's the maximum that they could have fined a team. So
right. So I'm going to give my take here. As a Houstonian, the World Series win came about 2 months after Hurricane Harvey. And Hurricane Harvey, although I wasn't living in Houston at the time, I was here. But I went home for about a week when Hurricane Irma came to Orlando. So I got to see a lot of what happened with how Hurricane Harvey hit the city. And I live about an hour out from the coast. So about similar to where we are here, about an hour from the coast here at the Nicholson School of Communication and Media. I had to get that in there. But so we're looking here, the city was devastated by this hurricane. It was the worst hurricane, in Houston history. But that World Series, and it's something that sports has the power that very little else does. Sports, music, and tragedy bring people together. And a tragedy brought the Houston community together, and the performance of the Astros brought the community together.
It really felt like Boston after the bombing.
In similar fashions, yes, there were shades of it. So when the Astros won in 2017, as for me, very happy. I was watching in my living room, very happy. But it wasn't necessarily about me. It was about we brought this for the city, and that's what the team adopted that year. The team was so about the city. AJ Hinch was about the city. The whole team, from top to bottom, was about winning that championship for the city. And that, to me, will never be taken away, even if this title was vacated. Now, obviously, it's not going to be vacated. Altuve's MVP campaign, not going to be vacated. But a title, even if they did, you can't take that away from the city. And you will never be able to. I don't care how many asterisks you put behind it. The feeling of a championship is just unlike any other thing that you will ever experience as a fan. So it's remarkable. I don't have any words for it.
Must be nice.
It is nice. It is nice. And that's why, it sucks to lose Game 7 in the World Series. That feeling.
Yeah.
Everyone
here
the
knows
four of
that
us here
feeling.
know that feeling.
That was very painful.
So for the city, it was right. And, but also just as how positive and how amazing these feelings were that the team won that championship for the city, it's equally as disheartening that the team used methods that would get them this kind of advantage. Let me just say this is, in my opinion, number 2 in terms of baseball scandals behind the Black Sox. I think this is a bigger scandal than the steroids. I do. But also it's very similar to the steroid use in Major League Baseball, that whole scandal, because it's players writing an unwritten rule and using it as an unfair advantage. Now, the thing is, all these players that use steroids, you can say that the steroids help them gain better stats, and there are numbers to back that up. That's the difference. That's why I think the steroid use was taken so seriously, because there was clear evidence that teams and players were benefiting from the use of steroids. But with this, it's a little different. There is no guarantee that this benefits you, but it's just simply the idea that you would try to gain an unfair advantage. Now, here's the thing as well. Who's to say that if the Astros are doing it, and there's allegations that the Red Sox are doing it, and there's allegations that the Yankees are doing it, and the Dodgers, who's to say that not every single team in Major League Baseball is doing this? And
because I think the report came out, it was even the Blue Jays who weren't really a factor in that year.
Yeah, so that's why I think this scandal, because the thing is, it's not over. No. So much more is going to be uncovered, and I think when we find out more about the Boston, the investigation behind the Boston Red Sox in 2018, when Alex Cora went over from Houston to Boston.
Mastermind of the operation.
So the report came out that the mastermind behind all of this was Alex Cora. And that even though, so after Cora left in 2017, in 2018, there was still this use of unfair advantage, trash can banging, whatever you want to call it, but it dissipated And there was no evidence, zero evidence, that it was used in the 2018 postseason and the 2019 postseason, which I think is important to note here. And look, AJ Hinch, in my opinion, I think, honestly, the penalty that the Astros got, I just want to get your opinion just across the board. Was that penalty fair? Should they have gotten more? Should they have gotten less? I'm going to start with Johnny, and then we'll work our way around.
I think the penalty was fair because the penalty wasn't for the Astros. The penalty was for every other team that might be either doing the same thing or might even think of doing the same thing.
I mean, but the Astros are the ones that are penalized here.
Yeah.
And
yes.
And the thing is, and the Astros are just the ones that got caught. But, I mean, but also it shouldn't be like that. And they are making an example out of the Astros. So, Kayla, go ahead. Was this penalty the right penalty?
Being, like you said, that there is no clear evidence, as if there were, like, the steroids where you have the numbers to prove it. Like, there is no hardcore evidence that they actually did or did not. So I do think that this penalty is fair for that reason. And it's going to scare other teams. No one wants the $5 million fines. No one wants to fire their general manager or manager. That no one wants to deal with that. So I think it is very fair, and I think it'll be a good lesson for other teams that may or may not be doing the same thing.
Do you think that the suspension of Hinch, Taubman, and Luno were fair?
I think they were fair because at the end, look, the Astros fired them anyways. So at the end of the day, they were done.
So there was there were rumors flying a little bit here about the firing, because the Astros had no right to fire. Like it was their choice to fire them or not. Or was it? So there are rumors here that there might have been conversations between Jim Crane, owner of the Astros, Rob Manfred, commissioner of MLB baseball or Major League Baseball, that they could have made the suspension longer, or I'll make the suspension a year and you can fire them. There was kind of like like a handshake kind of under the table deal that you would fire them if I only suspended them for a year. Because the thing is, I feel like if they suspended them for longer, it would have made the Astros look worse. Yeah. So in a way, I think in a way, Manfred, and do I believe that this was part of the deal? I do actually think that this was part of the deal that was made between Crane and Manfred, because
the Red Sox also completely let go of Cora even before the MLB punished him at all.
Well, because the thing is, they haven't punished Cora yet because there's still an investigation going on with the Red Sox.
Yeah.
I actually think Cora is going to be suspended for life. I don't know about you guys and how you feel about that. Do you think he's going to be suspended for life?
If it comes out that he took that system from the Astros to the Red Sox, or he maybe, because he was, according to the reports, he's the mastermind of the operation in Houston. If he's also the mastermind of a second operation, similar or different, any sign stealing or cheating operation in Boston, I do think he will get banned for life.
Mm-hmm. So, Lindsay, I'm going to toss the mic to you and just get your thoughts on the penalties for everyone involved and if they were fair or not.
So, being an Astros fan, it was very difficult for me when the news came out about the punishments and the allegations and everything. I do believe that the Astros were the scapegoats for MLB, and this goes way further than the Red Sox, because let's not forget that in 2017, the Red Sox and the Yankees were both fined for using the replay rooms with their dugout phone. They were calling and vice versa. So I just hope that the investigation doesn't stop here. I'm not going to say that just because I'm an Astros fan that I don't think it was fair. If you cheat, then you should be punished. But I just hope that it doesn't stop here and that it should go across the board and whoever is involved should be implicated. And, yeah, it's been a rough couple days for Houston.
Yeah, I mean, so do you think the penalties were fair, though? Do you think that what was given to them was justified by their actions?
I do. I do agree with you with the under the table agreement between Jim Crane and Rob Manfred. I think that maybe Jim Crane having no idea that this was going on is a bit of a stretch. And I'm aware that he does own the team. That doesn't mean he exactly runs it, because that was AJ Hinch's job. But I think that maybe Jim Crane was trying to save his own butt a little bit there by firing both of them.
Because some of the rumors at the beginning of this investigation were that, as reported by a couple people,
That it was Crane behind it.
yeah, that it was that either A, it was Crane behind it, or that B, Crane was also going to be suspended or maybe forced to sell the team. So maybe part of the agreement is, I'm not going to make you sell the team, or from Rob Manfred to Jim Crane is, I won't make you sell the team if you fire these people, which could potentially suck even worse for Cora and Lunau. But, I mean, billionaires will do whatever they can to make themselves more money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that that's definitely an under the table. Like, there's no way, it's all money at the end of the day. So, money talks about who's giving, So, but at the end of the day, I think the Astros firing them was also just a way to make good face for them. Had they kept them there, like, people are going to be a little salty about it. Astros fans are going to be a little, like, upset with that. So it's them being like, hey, let's just part ways. Let's be done with it so that we can kind of get our reputation back.
And there are a lot of Astros fans that are very upset about AJ Hinch being fired. I think Houston sports fans woke up Monday morning thinking a coach was going to be fired, and then you went to bed that night and the wrong coach got fired. And that's kind of how I felt a little bit. Bill O'Brien losing on Sunday. I mean, that all happened in 24 hours. But that's besides the point. It's almost like these actions have led to a curse almost. I believe in this curse actually, but that's besides the point. Let's get back to like the meat here. So now I want to get your opinion on the players not being fined and not being suspended. Johnny, is that the right punishment? Is it right for these players to get away scot-free? I mean, like, look, Carlos Beltran, who is going to manage the Mets this year, he's gone away scot-free.
Yes. I mean, if there's no concrete way to say that, A, the players had a choice in doing it, that the players weren't either coerced or forced by their teammates or management. Because you have to think, if you're Alex Cora and you have a system that you think will benefit your hitters, you are telling them about it. As soon as it's ready, you are having them test it. I'm 100%, I mean, obviously the players used it, some of them, but you can't tell who used it. You can't tell who benefited from it, because a lot of players, I think A-Rod specifically said that when he was playing, he didn't want to know what pitch was coming, that it actively hurt him, and that on the off chance that it was wrong, it messed with his head.
So I want to ask you this, Johnny, as a former baseball player, someone who's played baseball. Yeah. Now, I just know Johnny plays baseball, so if either of you have played softball or baseball, just you can chime into this as well. Did you ever steal signs when you were playing, or was it just too low of a competitive level for you?
We 100% stole signs. If you can see the signs on second base, if the catcher is doing like a 1 every single time and it's a fastball, you do something to tell the kids if the hitter wants it. Unless the hitter has specifically told you, I don't want you to tell me, you tell him.
So was there ever were coaches on your teams growing up? Were they supportive? Were they like encouraging sign stealing?
I wouldn't say they necessarily encouraged or discouraged it. They knew it was going on. They 100% knew it was going on.
Was there a coach that ever said, if you're on second and they're showing fastball, you gotta show them? Because I mean, I've never played baseball, so I don't know a lot about. I know baseball in terms of
one of my coaches,
how to play, but I don't know like the ins and outs.
If he saw the catcher signs, he would tell us.
Okay, so
yeah,
so I guess put yourself in the Astros shoes a little bit. You have a coach, Alex Cora, bench coach, and he's worked this entire system, and whether or not he gained the opinions from other people before this all happened to do this or not. But you have a coach telling you, and basically going out of his way,
that Aroldis Chapman is 100% going to throw a fastball versus he's 100% going to throw a slider. Because a lot of hitters in the big leagues talk about, some of them like to sit fastball and adjust. Some of them like to guess pitches, because if a guy's throwing 100 miles an hour and you guess slider and it's not a slider, you're done. There's no chance you're going to hit that baseball.
So, I mean, in a way, did Astros players really have a choice in?
I honestly don't think they had that much of a choice, because let's say one of them took the moral high ground, quote unquote, and said, I'm not going to use this. I don't think you guys should use this. Do they get ostracized from the team if they're not Altuve.
It's like peer
or
pressure in a
Springer,
way.
100%.
Especially when you're also in that position where you're competing for a championship. Every game counts.
They're competing for a championship, and the better they hit, the more money they make.
Exactly.
The better they can set their family up. Even if it's not the big guys, like Jake Marisnick. If Jake Marisnick hits 15 home runs versus 20 home runs.
You just mentioned... Okay, yeah. Wait, when you said that hit a chord with us. You want to go first?
Sure. So I just want to say that...
We're going to miss you, Jake.
I know. But I'm not going to talk about Jake right now because it hits home for me. I'm going to talk about Bregman's slump. I'm going to talk about Alvarez's slump. I'm going to talk about Springer and Altuve. All of these guys on the team, even the big hitters, the aces on our team that had slumps during the season. If they truly were stealing signs like they said they were and they perfected this system that Alex Cora created, then how do you explain the slumps?
Because baseball is extremely hard. You can know, let's say, like, let's go back to what I was saying. Aroldis Chapman, his fastball is not only 100 miles an hour, but it is over 100 miles an hour with movement. If you're telling me that you can hit that pitch 100% of the time, even if you know it's coming, because you know a fastball's coming. You don't know where it's coming. It could be away, it could be inside, and just because you can make contact doesn't mean it's going to be a hit. It doesn't mean it's going to be a home run. And just because you make good contact with it doesn't always mean it's going to be a hit. My main point is that baseball is stupid. And it makes no sense at all why anybody can hit anything.
I mean, what do you think, like, I wonder if there's like a stat that has like the league-wide average for like
baseball?
Like season. Yeah.
It's like, I think last year or this year it was
it's got to be somewhere. It's got to be somewhere in that 250 range. Yeah.
I think it was
so
252 this
one
year.
out of every 4 hits, one out of every 4 players at bats is going to be a hit in some regard. It's going to be a single, double, triple, homer, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I mean, look,
pitchers are so good.
Baseball looks so easy when you're in the stands and when you're watching it, but I mean, that goes for every sport. That goes for football, baseball, basketball, volleyball, Quidditch, whatever you want to call it.
Quidditch looks hard watching.
Exactly. Yeah. That is hard to watch, to be fair. But it's probably harder to play than it is to watch, too.
Yeah.
Quidditch is also a broken sports game, but that's not for this podcast.
Yeah. That's not hitting the Quidditch.
The Golden Snitch is too powerful.
The Golden Snitch is way too powerful.
It's too powerful. 150 points?
Could you?
kidding me?
It's like the
Seeker is
it's like the home run derby.
The Seeker is the only important part because Harry Potter was the Seeker, and J.K. Rowling wanted Harry Potter to be the most important character in every single aspect of that universe. And so obviously it doesn't matter if Gryffindor sucks as long as Harry Potter is the best Quidditch player on the planet.
You had such like
Quidditch ran over.
Thought about this before.
Quidditch ran over. I've had this conversation before. Quidditch ran over.
Trying like a full rant. Like
you can pick Johnny Jackson's brain, and you don't know what you're going.
You don't know. You have no idea. It could go anyway.
It's a box of chocolates over there. Yeah. But Kayla, were you going to say something about like
baseball and Quidditch?
Slumps and slumps? Yeah. This is a baseball podcast, right? So.
No, I was just going to like say that you really can't, as much as you would like to say exactly what players are benefiting from it, did they want to do it? You can't, you're not going to be able to find that. And you're going to spend so much money trying to that it's not worth it at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. And also, at this point, the MLB has to be careful because they can't go around fire happy and start firing this player, suspending this player. They want to have a good season.
It's like when any player has like a really good game and then decide to drug test them the next day.
Oh yeah.
Just because you're like, oh, you scored 26 points and you haven't scored more than 26 points in like all season, so we're gonna drug test you because you're clearly on drugs, like clearly. But I mean, I think you brought up a good point, Lindsay, where it's like and you too. I think this is great conversation about just how really difficult baseball is, mm-hmm. and but going back to players wanting signs, not wanting signs, and I think that kind of validates why the players did not end up getting suspended or anything like that, because there really is no proof as to whether or not it helped or hurt, and there's no telling as to whether players used it to help them or not. Now, the thing is this, also, like, Jose Altuve, before Alex Cora even came to the Astros and there was absolutely no evidence of cheating at all. Monster, still. And he was hitting the prime of his career, right when the Astros began that championship window, and hey, he just happens to be in his prime. Like, and maybe he stole a couple signs that might have helped him once or twice.
Breaking news: good hitter is good.
Good, yeah, exactly.
Right.
So like this was also just like the thing is this. You mentioned the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays that year. Let me look at the record that they had. So the Blue Jays. In 2017...
Rest in peace, Hyun-Jin Ryu. I'm sorry, baby.
Yeah, it's in Toronto right now. So, in that year, the Blue Jays finished with a 76 and 86 record. The Astros, 101 and 61 with a ring. So, like you mentioned... And look, but the thing is also, the Astros did have a lot of evidence behind them and testimonials from actual players on the team.
But it's like, who is Rob Manfred going to focus on? The Astros and the Dodgers and the Yankees, or the Blue Jays?
Probably the teams that are performing the best
winning,
because
yeah.
they're winning and they are affecting more results because they play more games and they're playing more important games. Blue Jays didn't play a single game that year that was important to the outcome of the MLB season. In terms of their outcome to the MLB season, I'll leave it. I'll say that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that the choice was right. The players, because I think that at the end of the day, you assume that when you look at someone, whether you're playing against them in a sport or whether you just look at them, I think it's important, and even in the justice system that we have in our country, you're innocent until proven guilty, and there's no way to prove that they are guilty. That specific players are guilty. You can assume that the Astros are guilty of cheating. That is fair. But you can't assume that specific players on that team are right. cheating. So I think that the penalty or the lack thereof was fair. And I think that we can all agree with that.
Yeah,
yes.
So
definitely.
let's move on a little bit. Kind of pivot here. So Astros, no coach, no general manager. We were talking a little bit about it before the podcast, but who do general managers is a little difficult, and they might just hire within the organization, or they might
poach somebody
from Baltimore that was previously with the Astros. But let's talk coaches, just because they're a little more well known, and we have an idea already as to who they are. Who do you think will be the Astros manager opening day 2020? Johnny, I'm going to start with you, and we'll work our way around.
I mean, my gut originally said Buck Showalter, but then when you think about it, he's very old-fashioned in his managerial style and how he approaches the game, and I don't think he's a good fit for that front office.
He's got a lot of experience. He's only 63 years old. I would have thought he was like 70.
He is an old man in a young, spry body.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, stints with the Yankees, the Diamondbacks, the Rangers, the Orioles. He's been a 3-time AL Manager of the Year in 3 separate decades, mind you. But also...
single-handedly lost the 2016 wildcard game.
So, look at this. This is kind of an ironic stat, but I want to go through this. Yankees, 1995 was his last year. 1996, they won the World Series. Diamondbacks, 1998 through 2000, their first manager in franchise history. They go 2 trips to the postseason. They win it in 2001. Rangers, 2003 to 2006. That's the outlier here. Orioles, though, he was the Orioles manager for 9 seasons. They went to the... I know they definitely went at least to the American League Championship at least once. Probably multiple times. I'm pretty sure that... Let me see if there's more information on this. ALCS once. That was in 2014 to the Royals. They lost in 4 games to the Royals. But I mean, he's got playoff experience too. So I think they would be. And look, Buck Showalter is a very old school manager. He's been around the game for a very long time. This would be his 4th decade that he's managed. So, and the thing is also, the Astros went for a very young coach last time. AJ Hinch was in his 30s when he was hired by Houston. And that's why I don't think they're going to go old school. I actually think Joe Espada is going to be the manager. Someone who's already there, inside the organization, knows the players, was the bench coach last year, has no affiliation with that 2017 team, which I think is important here.
Yes.
I think that they cannot have someone from that 2017 staff as the manager.
It just
because then what was the point of firing Hinch in the first place?
Yeah.
I think what the Astros have here is they have the chance to really separate themselves here. And in
And
a
do you
way,
think the Astros have been preparing for this?
yes and no. I think the players had to have known that this was a possibility. I'd be very frustrated if Crane would just blindside them like that. I don't think he would. Clearly, they've had a lot of talks about it because in media sessions, they have been coached to not talk about it. And I wonder how that will be in spring training when, all this comes out and, if they're going to talk about it or not. And considering how close the Astros are, because, they've had so many experiences with each other that they know as a family what they're going to do. And that's why I think Espada is going to be there, because Espada went through this just like everybody else did. He's very well respected in the organization and with the team. And I think that it's just a natural fit, in my opinion. And Espada can bring someone in to, vacate his position. I think that is ultimately what he's going to do, rather than just bring a new guy 6 weeks before the start of spring training. Now, if this was, earlier, if this was right after the World Series, it's a different story. I wouldn't mind hiring a new guy, but just because it's so close to spring training, and it would just be an easier transition for me to hire Espada. But I kind of want to wrap this up here a little bit, at least on the Astros side, and we'll talk a little bit about the rest of the league. I know we spent about 41 minutes now talking about Astros. Yeah, I do want to talk about the White Sox a little bit, but
definitely.
Future of this. The Red Sox are under investigation right now. The Yankees have allegations. A lot of teams have allegations. What do you think this will do for the future, and how these cases are treated? We'll start with Kayla. Kayla. Ladies first. Come on.
Sorry. I think it'll just make everyone, all the teams in the MLB, aware of the serious repercussions that'll come from your little, it's not an official rule or whatever it is. They want to kind of hack the system. Well, it's going to show them that you really can't at this point. And it's, at the end of the day, we have to play a fair game and follow the rules at the end of the day.
I want to bring up a point that Jeremy was saying earlier about how there's a guy on second and they're trying to read the catcher's signs. That happens all the time. Every single game, the players on base are trying to decipher the signs that the catcher is throwing and trying to break that communication and that code. So it's a very fine line what should be allowed and shouldn't be allowed, and I think a lot of teams try and mess with that line a little bit, and they try and push the boundaries, and the Astros happen to go too far. And with the coaching about who is going to be the manager, I think it is important, especially since it's so late towards spring training, that we stick with someone that we know, because the chemistry between AJ Hinch and the players was so good, and they all played together so well, and he was a great coach. So I think it is important for them to stick with somebody that they're familiar with, and I'm excited to see what happens in the next season.
Yeah, Johnny, go ahead. Or if you have anything to add. You don't?
Not really.
Here, I'll ask you a question. Will Hinch and Luno have a job in the MLB again?
I think...
This question goes to anyone. Will Hinch and Luno coach or be a general manager again? Will they be employed by an MLB team in 2021 after their suspension?
Yeah, that I'm unsure of. I want to say yes. Just I feel like they're a talent that you just don't want to throw away completely. But at the end of the day, I don't know that any team's going to want that bad blood necessarily. Yeah, exactly, in their team. So that's something I'm very unsure of, but I think it is very possible.
I think that if teams will continue to employ domestic abusers, there is no way that they will not continue to employ people who cheat.
Lindsay, you have anything to add?
I do hope that someone gives them a second chance. And especially since everyone believes in all of the rumors floating around is that Alex Cora was the mastermind of this, then with Alex Cora separated from them and out of the picture, then I think that they might want to go on the straight and narrow road and not and try and play a fair game.
That's fair. I'm going to actually take a different opinion than y'all guys. I don't think that Hinch and Luna are going to ever be in the MLB again. I really don't. I think that what Manfred has done here, I really want to commend him here, because I think what he did was he did a thorough, complete, and quick. He didn't do it fast. He did it quick and did it at the right time. And he made a statement with this investigation. He sent a message, and it not just to the league, not just to the minor league, but to anyone who plays baseball, kids growing up, because they're gonna say, oh, Houston kids are, mom, dad, why is AJ Hinch not there anymore? And they're gonna explain, well, AJ Hinch was cheating, and cheating's not okay. And I think because in the relationship that that baseball has with its youth is very strong, and the message, and I think it would just be a terrible message for anyone to say that. And I think, and you mentioned like domestic abusers and all that, and that's also, not a message that I think baseball should send. Although, in a sense, it's such a fine line between what is cheating, what is not. But just to be associated with it is not something that you want to be associated with. And innocent until proven guilty. But I like you mentioned, I think you brought up a good point about the domestic abusers. So, but I also think that this is different, and this is Manfred making a call here, because I do think that Manfred had something to do with the firings of Luno, Taubman, and Luno, Taubman, and Hinch. Excuse me. I do think that Manfred had a say in that, and that's why I don't think they're going to be employed again. But let's move on here. We spent about 3/4 of the podcast talking about this, and I'm glad that we did, because we could be for hours talking about this. It really is a conversation that is going to continue on, and I think we did a good job wrapping it up in a little bow. But we have about 10-ish minutes here to talk about the rest of the league. I'm going to go rapid fire. We're going to play kind of a game. We're going to go rapid fire. I'm going to give you guys 1 minute. I'm going to bring up a conversation and just spew off what you think about this team and what they've done. So let's put. I'm going to put 60 seconds on the clock, and I'm going to say a team, and then we're going to just say what we liked and what we didn't like about their offseason. All right. 3, 2, 1. The Minnesota Twins. Minnesota Twins got a great offensive addition with Josh Donaldson. He's not a bad defender either, pretty good defender, but their weakness is and always will be pitching. If Jose Barrios cannot take that next step up and become the ace that city needs, that team needs, the Twins will continue to be a playoff disappointment. Twins, any thoughts on the Twins?
No, I have to agree. Again, a lot of the MLB teams that aren't competing at this level, it's because of pitching. Pitching is a overall weakness in a lot of teams, which is why they can't compete with the Astros, with the Dodgers, with the Yankees, because, again, they have a higher level than most teams do. So, again, Twins and even just other teams, they need pitching.
Rich Hill is a Twin now. I mean, What do you think about that? Do you think that will help them?
He won't play till June because he's still injured. He's either June or July. He won't play until June. But Rich Hill is a glass cannon. He is absolutely
he's very fragile.
Insane when he's good, or he's just not on the field. Mm-hmm. When he pitches, he's great. He's phenomenal. That curveball is something else. But when he's not pitching, he can't do much.
Time. Well, I didn't look at the time very well. All right. 3, 2, 1. The Chicago White Sox.
Yasmani Grandal is the second best framer in baseball. James McCann is the worst framer in baseball. The White Sox lost the most strikes out of any team in baseball, and now they're going to gain a lot. They've also gained Dallas Keuchel. Michael Kopech is coming back this year. The White Sox will be good. I will put $10 on it right now because I am broke. The White Sox will win the division in 2020.
I'm going to hold you to that.
I will shake on it. Me and Jeremy are shaking hands.
Can I remember a bet that far down the road?
I will text you. I will remember.
I feel like Johnny will definitely remember it if you don't. So
$10 for the White Sox.
Shaking right now on $10.
No,
I got the Twins. I think the Twins are still better. I think I like what they've done. They definitely had the best offseason, but there's just too many question marks still.
Yeah. I don't know that the White Sox will be good this year necessarily, but I do think they're not a team that have spent money on players in the past. And
they did this year.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the first year they're finally opening their wallets to spend the money that they need to get a team that could even compete at the level of the Yankees and stuff.
All right, 3, 2, 1. The Los Angeles Dodgers.
Oh.
I am so sad all the time because we didn't really get at much pitching. We got Blake Trinan, who when he had a phenomenal 2018 with that 100-mile-an-hour sinker. That pitch, if you have not seen that pitch, please go to Pitching Ninja on Twitter. Look up Blake Trinan turbo sinker on Twitter. It is absolutely insane how much that pitch moves. But we also have not that much pitching, but you do get Dustin May for a whole season. You get Julio Urias in the rotation for a whole season. I think the Dodgers are still good. Do I think they are World Series caliber right now? Not until they get some more pitching. And they're also very lefty-heavy in the lineup.
Yeah, I have to agree. I love my Dodgers. Would want to say that they're going to win this year again, but I actually think they set themselves back a little bit, being that they don't have the pitching that they need. You know, we have our hitters and everything, but this past World Series especially has proven that you're not going to do anything unless you have a bullpen.
And time. 3, 2, 1. Absolutely having nothing to do with the scandals that are attached to their team, the Houston Astros. Lindsay, you want to start this one?
Sure. We've had a pretty low-key profile during the off-season.
Other than
I'm talking about free agent signings. Despite the scandals, we're leaving that in the previous conversation. Anyways, I am very happy that we re-signed Maldonado, and it makes me even more happy that Cole will not have him to catch for him in the Yankees, because Cole is a great pitcher and everything, but who made him? The Houston Astros, because with the Pirates, he was nobody. So
I will say that Charlie Morton did leave the Astros, and he got better.
Debatable.
He was pretty good at the end.
Charlie Morton had I know, but he was good with the Astros. The Astros made him good. The Astros made him throw 98, which I don't know how the heck.
I know. It's Brent Strong.
But he left the Astros and got better. I think he finished third in the Cy Young with Tampa Bay.
He was supposed to retire.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. He was. He took a 2-year deal with Tampa Bay.
And then he found out he could still make money.
He found out he could still finish third in the Cy Young. I think that's pretty important.
I love Charlie Morton. I don't care what team he plays for. I love that guy.
Charlie freaking Morton.
Charlie freaking Morton.
He's great.
All right, and time. 3, 2, 1. The New York Yankees.
I think this is the year that they might actually win the World Series. And I hate saying that with every bone in my body because I'm not a Yankees fan, but they got what they needed. They got Garrett Cole. They're kind of like, they needed to build up the bullpen. They have Garrett Cole. They have their pitchers from last season. I'm blanking on every name right now. I don't know why. But yeah, I think this might actually be the year that they're a contender.
Listen, just because they got Garrett Cole doesn't mean that they are going to be a World Series caliber team.
Yeah, but
because the coaches are different. The weather is different. Minute Maid Park, you have to remember, in Houston is a closed stadium. Yes, they do travel, and they do travel to places that play in cold weather. However, that is his home team.
I just want to say, the hot fuzz from Paxton.
The catching is different. I'm sorry to cut
okay.
you off.
It's okay.
But this is my time to rant.
Go.
So, like I said, the coaching is different. Brett Strom really got to him, and Verlander was his mentor. And he got even better each season. Like 300 strikeouts. Are you kidding me?
In time. All right. 3, 2, 1. The Arizona Diamondbacks.
I don't understand how 5 years, $85 million for Bumgarner. If you were the Giants, how do you not sign that man to? How do you not have Madison Bumgarner as a Giant?
I think they want to just move on. I think they just want to move on, though.
That is a legendary figure in that city.
Look, you're going to pay a guy in his 30s. That's the thing.
30s.
That's the thing is that's also part of the reason why I don't think Houston wanted to sign him back. Sign Cole back. Excuse me. Because they had Greinke, Verlander. And they just couldn't do that on a long-term deal. They signed Verlander to a 3-year deal. That's normal. Greinke's on a 3-year deal, I believe. That's normal. Yeah, signing Cole to a 9-year deal, I just think it was too much. Signing Bumgarner to a 5-year deal, it's just too much. I think the Giants actually are better off without Bumgarner. Look, are the Diamondbacks going to win a World Series this year?
No.
Exactly. But the thing is, though, Garrett Cole, the Yankees can win a World Series this year. And their team, they are the New York Yankees.
If the Yankees win one World Series in the next 9 years, that
it's worth
contract
it.
is worth
Exactly.
it. Yep.
Exactly. That's why getting Verlander was worth it. That's why getting, Jake Marisnick was worth it. That's why all those things were worth it at the end.
Yeah, I think especially with like Bumgarner, like you said, like at the end, it was kind of tired. Like it was time for him to move on. As you have these great players that are on these teams all these years, and like they don't really do anything. Like Bryce Harper with the Nationals and Giancarlo Stanton with the Marlins, and then they finally leave, and that's when they start.
And time 3, 2, 1. Defending champion Washington Nationals, and this will be the last one. So get all you want out. You know what? Here's the thing. Anthony Rendon, you lose Anthony Rendon, obviously that's going to hurt
That's
them.
the third baseman in baseball. Fight me.
We will after the show.
I was happy they kept.
Meet me in the parking lot. Lindsay will
2
back me up
words,
too.
Alex Bregman.
Yeah.
2 words is worse.
We're talking about the Washington Nationals here. Signing Strasburg back was huge. I think it was the right thing to do. Right thing for Strasburg to opt out when he did. They have an aura about them that they're going to continue.
Rest in peace, Gerardo Parra.
I think that they are the best team in that division still. Better than the Braves. The Braves don't have Donaldson this year.
The Mets, so
pitching is not as good.
Edwin Diaz had an extremely unlucky season if you look at the batted ball data.
Fair.
I think the Mets win that division in 2020.
Wow. Hot take.
Another hot take. The Mets, that bullpen on paper, they got Betances and Familia. Familia's back. If Edwin Diaz and Familia, there's no way they get any worse. They have to be better. If you look at how they actually pitched, the results do not match the way they pitched. If you look at their fielding independent pitching, their expected fielding independent pitching, there's no way that bullpen gets worse. I think they had the most blown saves in baseball last year.
I mean, but they got it when I counted.
Yeah.
But if
the Mets, yeah.
But if that bullpen turns around, and I truly believe it will, they still have DeGrom, they still have Syndergaard. They don't have Wheeler, but I mean Wheeler's was kind of a non-factor in that rotation, if we're being honest.
And time.
They win the NL East.
we were talking. I don't know how you turn. I mean, I guess I do know how you turn Nationals into Mets, but I'm glad we get to talk to Mets. I'm happy for Beltran. I'm happy for Rendon and how his contract got. I just wish he went to like a different team.
I wanted the Angels to get pitching so bad because I want to see Mike Trout in the World Series.
I'm glad he didn't.
The Angels to get Cole.
Angels and Astros played 21 times this year.
The Angels and Mike Trout is a perfect example of going where the money is and not going anywhere with that team.
Mm-hmm.
Or being loyal and being literally the best human being to have ever touched a baseball. Michael Nelson Trout.
As you can see, this could go on for hours, but I'm going to cut us off right here. It's been about an hour, but I'm so glad we did this. This was a lot of fun, this crew right here. I'm sure we'll be back in some fashion. A lot of baseball coverage coming up on Hitting the Field and the Hitting the Field podcast. We're working on getting possibly a baseball-centric podcast, and that might be in the works for either later this semester or next semester. We're working on creating, hopefully, a podcast network so that multiple people can host podcasts and be part of the Hitting the Field brand. I'm really excited to see what the future holds for Hitting the Field, as it's my last semester, my last season with the squad, with the show. But what I've seen from the group and the crew this semester is that this show is in very good hands when I eventually do pass the torch. And it's going to be, and the best is yet to come with Hitting the Field. And I'm really excited to see that. Not just in the future, but this season too. I'm really excited for what we got this season. We just got started 2 episodes in. We are off on Monday for Martin Luther King Day. However, we'll be back on the 27th for a special hour-long Super Bowl preview show. We're really excited to bring that out. We're going to talk all things Super Bowl for 1 full hour. We're looking very forward to it. We also do have another podcast Friday afternoon where we will talk about the conference championships that are coming up this upcoming weekend. So a lot of things, a lot of excitement around Hitting the Field, and I would want it no other way for my final season. I'm really looking forward to it. I think that you three are going to really do great things with Hitting the Field and beyond. I'm really excited for you guys. I feel like Alex Trebek on the last episode of Goat Jeopardy, but that's all this time for this episode of the Hitting the Field podcast. And don't hit that button yet. We still gotta play the song. But thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will catch you on the flip side.
Things gonna change when I really hit the field. Undefeated champs, man, you know what's the deal. Tryna find a kid, I'm in the field doing drills. Boy, you just a sucker, you ain't never keep it real. 3 rings in my hand, I'm a warrior to the max. When I hang it up, they gon' have to give me plaques. Step up in the building and I only bring the facts. When I make a highlight, they gon' replay, run it back. Okay, always locked in, now I don't got time to lax. Saying he the best, he could take a lap.